Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Veronica Odeka.
Welcome back. I'm Tundra Abiola.
Dr. Nicky Okoye is the president and CEO of the Nicky Okoye organization. He is a very knowledgeable international consultant, advisor, coach, and speaker on a variety of subjects, mostly with foundations in national and business development strategy, entrepreneurship, as well as leadership. His expertise in national development has supported emerging market nations in repositioning their populations for the benefits of entrepreneurship, resulting in increased economic activity and the creation of new jobs. He has extensive experience to draw from, as well as a rich knowledge base and exceptional commitment for national development, business development, strategy, and global capital. Dr. Nicky Okoye is here to speak on the ease of doing business in Nigeria. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you on. So I want to get straight to the point. What is your opinion about the current government and their way of doing business and making it easier, as they've said that they're doing a better job than their predecessors? What do you think?
Well, I think when you're talking about ease of doing business, you have to talk about it from the perspective of the person who is actually doing business.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, I think the folks in government are looking at it from their own perspective. There's always a vantage point. So if you're in a vantage point of the one that is involved in the business,
Yes.
then you would know, for instance, that the ease of doing business in Nigeria is actually getting worse.
Okay.
For instance, if you're an importer, anybody that is doing business in Nigeria in the manufacturing field is obviously involved in one way or the other in importation. You're either importing raw materials or you're importing the nitbits that you're putting together in your factory in order to have a final product.
Yes.
Now, the cost of importing your goods from anywhere in the world to a Lagos port, it actually costs you more to transport it from Lagos to different parts of the country than to import it from Europe or United States or China.
That's true.
And that's ridiculous. And so that is the number one area where we have completely continued to frustrate business people in this country. One is that the ports are inefficient, they're poorly managed, and anybody who has taken a trip to Apapa would see that tankers line, block the roads. It's just grossly inefficient. I've never seen that any other place in the world as opposed to except for Nigeria. And that's just one area.
Yes.
Another area is the multiple taxations. Unfortunately, Nigerians like to believe that Nigerians don't pay tax, but that's not true. Anybody that is in business, once your name appears on a website or on a business card, the tax people are coming after you. And all the layers of tax will come after you, from the local government to the states to the federal. The states have about 10 or 20 different agencies coming after you. We had a program recently, and the guy was talking about a local government agency that came and started asking for radio tax, radio licenses, and so on, and so on and so forth. And they had nothing like that in their office. In Abuja, I have colleagues that are complaining that the Abuja authorities get toilet tax. So if you have a toilet in your office premises, there is a tax. So there's a huge multiple taxation. Then you hit the road. On the road, you have 10,000 different checkpoints. Customs are on the road, the immigration is on the road, all kinds of federal agencies. So if you are going to transport goods from Lagos to any part of the country, you're going to have to load the driver with all kinds of money that he's going to keep dropping these toll gates, artificial toll gates that have been created by government agencies, frustrating genuine business people. So when you talk about ease of doing business and you haven't looked at it from the perspective of the gentleman or the lady that is involved in the business, that is in the trenches, then you're not being honest and you're not looking at the thing from a holistic point of view.
So could we look at it from a point of view, what about investments and the people that are coming in to do investments? Because at the end of the day, when you are looking at the ease of doing business from a Nigerian's point of view, from importation and also exportation, we also need to look at it from an investment point of view. So could you probably say that this government is probably doing a better job at making investments in Nigeria a bit easier?
Well, what I would say is that I'm a Nigerian.
Yes.
So I love Nigeria. So if you ask me to talk about where you would best put your money, my first choice would be Nigeria.
Yes.
But having said that, it's always best we tell ourselves the truth. The investment climate would attract international investors if you put all your ducks in a row, if you give them the environment that requires investment. Now, international investment has several sides, several types. You have what we call portfolio investment. Now, portfolio investment is the investment that goes into securities, stock exchange.
Correct.
Okay, capital market securities, bonds, equities, and so on and so forth. Then you have foreign direct investment, which is companies or individuals coming to put factories or plants or projects in your country. The area that we haven't really tackled is local direct investment. Investment coming from our own people. Now, that is the area that I think the government should focus on. Nigerian people have a lot of money. Unfortunately, a lot of this money is abroad. And most of the wealthy Nigerians are consistently investing abroad because they don't have confidence in their own country. So if I were in government and if I were to advise the government, I would say, let's get our own people investing first. When our people are investing, the foreigners will come and they will follow suit. So what is it that is frustrating the Nigerian investor or the Nigerian businessman or the Nigerian businesswoman? All these things that I talked about, whether it's multiple taxation, whether it is the efficient port system, whether it's the infrastructure, can we sit down with the entrepreneurs of Nigeria and tackle their issues so that we can get them to mobilize their investment and put it into the Nigerian nation, and the foreign investment will follow suit? That is a guarantee.
Now, Nigerians' current ranking at number 146 out of 190 countries is based on an overview of what it means to do business. There are several sub-indices. You mentioned paying taxes, that's one of them, registering a business, registering a property, getting electricity. There are quite a few on which every country is marked, and then the results are collated. Can you identify some low-hanging fruit? What can the government do to get quick wins in this area?
Well, the quickest win will obviously be to clear the ports, right? But having said that, I think if we had a very quick business registration process, 24 hours, it can be done online. There's nothing complicated about registering a business. We just make it complicated ourselves, in 2 weeks, and you have to pay lawyers and all that. It can be done online. You do your business search 1 hour, less than an hour, computerized systems to tell you your name is available. And once your name is available, you can pick your payment with your card, and your business is registered. So that would, of course, make the index move up a notch. The area of land. Now, land for business is under the jurisdiction of the state governments. So it's not typically under the federal government's jurisdiction. So the federal government needs to work closer with the state governments to say, how can we get this land issue sorted out so that we can have more business people and more investors taking advantage of it, and access to land, access to building permits, and so on and so forth. But building permits, lands, designs, that's all under the state governments. Some state governments have done quite well. Lagos has done quite well, even the Federal Capital Territory, they're quite good at, having computerized their land registration system. But they're very few and far between, which means that we need to look at the entire country and find let's remodel what Lagos has done. It's not rocket science. If Lagos has done it and they've computerized the land registration system, the Federal Capital Territory has done it, then let all the states do it. So once we are able to do that, then of course it becomes another move on the needle as far as ease of doing business is concerned. Anambra, that I come from, is equally doing something in that space. Anambra has a one-stop shop, which we call the Anambra State Investment and Promotion Agency, ANSIPA. And so when you want to do business there, you go straight to this office. And the office has a land registry and a land bank, so to speak, where they have acquired land across the state, thousands of hectares of land, over 60,000 hectares, 70,000 hectares. And they're allocating that land. So they're being proactive. So they've gone, acquired the land, and then when investors come, they say, okay, we have this, maybe you can put your plant here or you can put it there. So that's a proactive approach. That's the kind of approach I think all the states should adopt. So it's not really a federal issue, even though it is listed on the ease of doing business, but it's a state issue. But the federal government can show some leadership by getting the states to adopt best practice.
Well, they have, under the purview of the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, they've been setting up SME clinics around the country. Have you heard of any sort of positive input from these
Well,
clinics?
the SME clinics, I actually attended the one that they hosted in Anambra State. The Vice President is one man.
Yes.
So he cannot host SME clinics in 36 states of the Federation, which is what they're doing. Okay, so they're doing SME clinics, everybody wants the Vice President to be there,
Yes.
and so on and so forth, and that's counterproductive. In any case, the real work or the real population is at the grassroots. There's 774 local government areas. There are over 120,000 wards. That's where the entrepreneurs are. So if we're going to have SME clinics, and we want SME clinics to be impactful,
Yes.
then it needs to be at the community level. And the Vice President can't be attending all these things. It's impossible because he's only one man. So what we need and what the government needs to do is to replicate that and create champions across the country where we can host these SME clinics across the country in different zones, in different local governments, in different communities. And that is when we will now begin to see the impact. And then the structure of the SME clinics, that also needs to be addressed. Again, the one I attended, we had, as many federal agencies as possible come. It was almost like a trade fair. I think SME clinics should be, in addition to the trade fair aspect, which is the exhibition, you have Bank of Industry and the Development Bank of Nigeria and CBN and so on and so forth. Everybody has a desk.
Yes.
But more importantly, the challenges that these young entrepreneurs are facing on day-to-day business, somebody has to address those challenges. Who is supporting them? Who is advising them? Who is mentoring them? That is what I understand by the word clinic. Because a clinic is the word best used in a hospital.
Yes.
You go to a hospital and you tell your doctor, I have a problem. I have a pain in my neck, I have a pain in my leg. And the doctor diagnoses what the problem is and gives you a treatment. That is what I believe SME clinics should be. So the young people come and say, this is the problem we are facing in our day-to-day business. And then you have mentors, experienced business people like myself or people from the community that are willing to volunteer their time. And they're there to address those issues that these young people come up with. And then you have an impactful SME clinic that can be spread across the country.
That's very true. Talking about impact and success, you have a think tank, which is the National Leadership Summit. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, we started the National Nigeria Leadership Summit in 2012. It's a private sector-led think tank. I convened it, I funded it, and I did that because I was primarily concerned about the drift of the Nigerian state at that time.
Yes.
I believe very strongly that the Nigerian problem boils down to one word, which is leadership. And I said, we can't uproot the folks who are in leadership positions.
That's true.
But we can support them. We can educate them. We can guide them. We can advise them. And so we say, okay, why don't we set up a platform that can do that? And so we set up the Leadership Summit in order to get young people to come and interact with their leaders and to share ideas. These are the problems we have. These are the solutions we are suggesting. You will be surprised how some very excellent ideas are coming from very young people. And some of the leaders are beginning to appreciate the platform that we have created for that purpose. So it is, I would say, a way of giving back to society. You can't be a businessman and you're operating in the Nigerian environment and you see Nigeria is going the wrong way and you're not going to, try to help. So the best way to help is either you join the political space or you create platforms that can support the political space. So I chose the latter, which is to create the Nigeria Leadership Summit as a platform to support the political space, to support the leadership of the country, and to give a forum for interaction of great ideas that could set Nigeria on a path to development.
Now, your keynote speaker was a vice presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and he raised a really interesting point about how Nigeria does not have a culture of resignation due to non-performance. And that is true, it's alien in this culture. What is your view on that? Are you in agreement with him that people should learn to step aside if they're unable to fulfill their duties?
Oh, absolutely. I think, and you're referring to the Leadership Summit we had on Friday.
Yes.
Okay, because we've had quite a number of them.
No, it's your most recent one.
So in that case, I believe very strongly that if you are in a position to get a job done, and you have rated yourself or you've measured yourself, you've not been able to get the job done, then by all means, let somebody who can get the job done step forward. You can step aside. It is like he said, actually, it is a culture in the Western world, and the civilized world. For some reason, it's not the culture in the African society, and in Nigeria especially. We could be failing and still want to hold on tight to the positions until somebody comes and kicks us out. I don't understand why we have that ideology. I have always benchmarked myself against the best in the world, and I believe I set targets for myself and draw up those targets and go after those targets. If I'm in public office and I don't meet those targets, then by all means, somebody who can meet those targets, because we're talking about people's lives. I always tell people that when I was growing up in Nigeria, there were 3 professions that were considered the best professions in the world, right? This was the law, medicine, and engineering.
Still is, depending on who you're asking.
So I'll tell people, okay, so assuming you are a lawyer, and you make a mistake. Your mistake would affect one person. And it most likely won't even affect the person's life, but it might affect the person's future. So a mistake of a lawyer, you get one mistake, you get one person affected. Then a mistake of a doctor may affect the person's life, but it's also just one person. Okay, so a doctor's mistake, one person could lose his or her life. Then an engineer's mistake, then it gets a bit more complicated. An engineer's mistake, a building could collapse, 10, 20, even up to 100 people could lose their lives. And we've seen that in Nigeria in recent time. A bridge could collapse, a building, and so on and so forth. But the political leader, his profession, every decision a political leader makes affects the life of millions of people. Every decision he makes, every signature he signs, millions of people are affected. Either inflation rate is affected, jobs are affected, salaries are affected. So in my opinion, that is the most important profession. Unfortunately, that is the profession that has the lowest barrier to entry.
Exactly.
In spite of its all importance. Because every single thing we do, whether it is the price of our air ticket or the price of our bus ticket, the price of our food, milk, sugar, eggs in the market, it is affected by the decisions of the political leader. So a mistake of the political leader could cost millions of lives. Yet we don't take that job seriously. And that's unfortunate.
Or we take it a little too seriously in some instances. In a city like Lagos, which is a high cosmopolitan city, leadership is necessary. And in your opinion, what type of leadership is best for public service?
When you say what type of leadership, you are referring to the type of individual that is expected to be in leadership. Now, in my opinion, I used to be one of those that would be like, oh, I'm not interested in politics. And I think there are quite a number of us that still talk like that.
Yes.
I don't talk like that anymore because I have realized that the political leader is affecting my life.
Yes.
His decisions affect my life.
Yes.
And if you, as a smart person, well-educated, do not get into the field, then you're going to be run by mediocres. You're going to be ruled by mediocres.
True.
You're going to be run, the people who are the back of the class when you were in school are the ones that are going to be determining your future.
Yeah.
They're going to determine the education your children are going to have. How can somebody who has no interest in development understand the needs of a child education in the 21st century? The world has completely changed. See, one of the problems that Nigeria has, and one of the effective answer to this, your question, is that the 21st century that we have gone into, we're about to become part of the fourth industrial revolution, which is going across the world, which is a revolution which is anchored on technology.
Correct.
Now, Nigeria is not participating. We're not even feeling the buzz. We don't really understand what is going on across the world. The world is moving in terms of artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, vehicles that drive themselves, you know, drones, planes that drive themselves, digital connectivity, you know, Internet of Things. Every single item, your fridge, your microwave is connected to the internet. And you can have a digital assistant. I mean, the technologies that are coming out in medical fields, they have technologies that can diagnose you in Japan. A doctor is in New York, and that diagnosis will appear to him in New York. He will tell the doctors in Japan how to treat you. I mean, it's amazing what is happening in the 21st century. Now, what we are missing is that we need to educate our young people in the STEM sciences, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We need to get more young people educated at the secondary school level so that they can compete in this 21st century. How can a leader that does not even understand that make a decision in that realm? So you can see that Nigeria is at a huge disadvantage because we have a bunch of, unfortunately, for lack of a better word, I would say clowns, that are running our affairs, making decisions, sophisticated decisions,
Yes.
that they don't know anything about.
So in your opinion, it's a lack of educational leadership
Yes.
that is lacking.
It is not just yes, educational leadership, yes. Passionate leadership.
Yes.
People who
Visionary
actually care.
leadership.
Yeah.
Visionary leadership. They need to care. They need to really care about the future. These folks don't care. All they're interested in is what are they going to get today and how we're going to share the money and so on and so forth. You know, but the future beckons. And if we don't prepare our children for this 21st century, we're going to be left behind. And we have 200 million people, almost 200 million people. In 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populated country in the world. And we're not getting ready for that. It means that we're going to have a problem. And that is the goal, that is the role of leadership, responsible leadership.
Thank you for that food for thought.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for that.
To think about.
It's time now for a short break. When we return, Arise News analyst and producer Charles Ohuaku will be joining us to review top newspaper headlines from across the country. Stay with us.